First, a little bit about me. I'm Mattia Crovero. I'm the technical co-founder at Ujibu. We are a software startup based in Turin. We design and develop custom solutions for companies that sometimes require AI in their workflows. We are also building Monk, an AI-powered tool to extract information from documents and other sources, and that is focused mostly on the human review part of the process. And I like building a lot, of course, but I like even more the developer experience and around it, everything that can make you more productive, but why not even enjoying the process more. And today I want to talk about that because we write a lot of code, we have some large code bases, and even if AI is helping us reducing the complexity, it is not enough. For me, the real 10x comes from the tools that we choose to do the job. And of course, the right tools give you powerful new primitives to tackle bigger problems faster and more reliably. And Effect is a perfect example of that. And before Effect, we chose Next with React for very similar reasons. And today I want to show you what I learned trying to integrate these two technologies together, and also a little library I've been working on that may simplify the process. And as React developers, we are kind of forced to use effects, right? So let's start with the basics. So for those of you who don't know Next.js, it is a full-stack framework for web development. It is very flexible, and you can do a lot of things with it. You can use it as a backend and, for example, expose APIs. You can use it as a front-end and consume APIs, or even using it as both front-end and backend, and cutting some corners, removing a layer of communication between the two. And you also need to know when you are working in Next.js that you're writing code for two different runtimes. You have the server runtime, that it is usually a Node.js process, and you have the browser, the unsafe browser JS client that can run your React components, for example. But yes, so the question is, where does Effect fit in all of these? Well, it can actually take over the entire project if you want. You should probably start with the backend part, as it is probably where Effect really shines, because you have maybe more external services and you need to handle more errors. But it is showing also great potential in the client with some projects like Effect Atom that enables you to manage your state in React with Effect. And yeah, today we'll just focus on the server part, and Next has some entry points for our effects, and we'll see some React server component that we can find, for example, some pages, layouts, and components that return the JSX components for the user. We have server actions that are a special kind of APIs that are managed by Next and have some behavior that is added by the framework itself. And then we have the most classic route handlers, but with Effect that they can be even more powerful if we hook some of the official packages like the Effect RPC or Effect HTTP API. And so let's start with some code, some I'd say production-grade software. And this is one of the possible entry points for our effects. It is a route handler. And yeah, we have this function somewhere in our business logic that gets a to-do by ID and returns an effect. So you saw earlier, an effect has this to-do success, a to-do not found error, and requires a to-do store to function. And this code works if we can, but we need to exit the effect word because we are in a framework that is not effect first. So, for example, if you are in effect HTTP API native client or native server, you can run effect immediately. But in Next.js, unfortunately, they does not support effect as first-class citizen, so we need to first execute it, exit the effect word, and then return the response to the user. And here you can see that we run the effect, we get the result, and then we return the response. And we are actually losing every benefit that can provide effect because, as you saw earlier, we are not catching the errors, and we're just throwing an unknown error. So how can we improve it? First, we stay in the effect word as much as possible. So instead of exiting and then catching the error, we catch it inside the effect word, and we map it to a success. So we say to effect, OK, I handled the error, you can proceed now. And the second thing, instead of providing a service locally, as we did before, we create a managed runtime, that is this utility in effect that lets you instantiate your services once and then reuse them across your application lifespan. And so instead of providing, we can, let's get back a minute. OK, we are using the runtime run promise that has, and you can find every utility that you would find in the base effect module, but inside this runtime, this managed runtime. So what's the catch? We just effectively run an effect in Next.js. So there are two main issues that you may encounter. The first one is that, OK, let's see an example. We got our to-do, and if we don't, so if we get the error, we want to redirect to a 404 page. Well, this work, it seems OK, also noting that we are using the effect sync because effects must be lazy, so we are wrapping it in this sync util that executes it when it needs to. And, but still, it is not enough, because when we use these special functions from Next, like redirect, not found, and many others, Next is actually throwing errors to interrupt the execution of the program, and the frameworks then redirects the user to the correct page. And so when we throw it inside an effect, it is first caught by the effect runtime. And this means that it will be wrapped, and Next won't be able to use it. So what can be the solution? The wrapper. The wrapper is, it may seem complicated, but let's see one step at a time. So the core is, OK, we have this function that accepts a function with some arguments that returns an effect. And here we can see, OK, the A, so we can return every kind of success. But here we can note the never in the error channel, and it is not required. If you want, you can use a generic here. But in the case of Next.js, and when you want to exit the effect word, if you indicate never in the error channel, it will force you to handle every error before returning to the user the response. And then we have the requirements. The requirements are extracted by our runtime that we have in another place, or we can inline it here. And this is a type utility that extracts just the layers, the type of the services that the wrapper requires. Then the core of the wrapper, we exit, this time not with run promise. You can see here the run promise exit that is another utility that won't throw. It will always return a kind of success of type exit. And from the exit, we can extract many more informations. And for example, here, we want the defects. So we extract the first defect. And if it is one of the next errors, we just rethrow it with this next utility. Then If not, we return the first error, and in a way that the framework can proceed and work on the error. And so let's use it. It's pretty simple. This time we are not in a route handler, we are in a page. And so it is even more clear that if we return and handle the error inside the effect word, we can map it to even other widgets. So get to do, we return the widget. If not, we throw the not found next error, and this will now work as expected. The second problem is a little trickier. Next.js during development supports the hot module reload, and you can figure these two kind of services in effect, but in general you have the stateless services that can be reinstantiated, rerun many times, and you have the stateful services like DB connections and or caches and a file connection and so on. And these, when you have a stateful service, you don't want to rerun it many times, and with the previous examples, it would, because every time it will rerun the module. And so, how can we solve this? Effect provides an utility even for that. We have this global value that is going to be called many times, but only be instantiated once. So you will have just one runtime with all the layers, the services instantiated. And we are also adding here an exit signals interceptor, so that when we close the Next.js application, and only then we are disposing the runtime. So this is okay, but we lose all the developer experience of the hot module reloading. And so we can have this hybrid approach where we are considering all of our dependencies stateless, and we just extract the stateful services out of the stateful runtime that we defined as before. And we have this hybrid approach that gives the best from both worlds. And then, after having worked on all these little issues, I started this library to try and fix some of those. And then I also tried to go a little bit further and trying to improve the developer experience in Next itself. And as you can see, adding middlewares. So we have the wrapper, as we talked about before. We have the versions for redirect, not found, revalidate path in the effect versions. And we have these middlewares to inject services and context at request time. And so, how does it work? It's quite simple, actually. You just declare this sort of manage runtime, but with the syntax. So next.make, we give it a key and the layers we want to provide. It is actually using a managed runtime behind the scenes, so it is very similar, and you can see now it's not clear, but there is also an utility to pass in a managed runtime if you want to. And then we can use it exactly as a wrapper, as we did before. And it will automatically, so we are using here the not found version of the next not found that we used before, and also we are returning a page. So why instead adding middlewares? That's because I think that Next.js middlewares are not meant for having some complex logic and being used for example, authentication, providing internationalization and so on, because of how they are, first, how you define, there is only one entry point, and you have to specify all the paths that you want to intercept. So it is more like a proxy, and in fact, Next.js is moving in that direction. And so I tried to copy, and I took a lot of inspiration from the RPC and Effect HTTP API middlewares. And as you are working with those implementation, it is very similar in the Next.js library. So we first define an object that we want to provide. For example, this is a middleware for adding authentication to our Next.js application. So we define a current user, very simple with just ID and name. We then create an interface that defines the behavior of the middleware. We see here the properties provides and the failure. So it says, okay, when run, if successful, provides the current user. If not, it will fail with a string. Then we implement the middleware. So we are going to use effects to create a layer for our middleware. And here we can add any kind of effect. We can go and take data from the database, whatever we want. And then we create this layer with other dependencies as well. And then we provide it to a Next-based instance, the same that we have declared before, but this time we are adding a middleware. You can add as many middlewares as you want, and you can also create these base objects that you can then import in every page and use. For example, I want an authenticated page, I just import this instance instead of the base one. And so we can see it in action. It is exactly as before, but this time we use it and we want also the current user that we got during the middleware execution. And so you just yield it as everything before. You can have more than one middleware, but it is important to say that the middlewares are executed in order from the first to the last, so that you have this pattern where you can define a group of middlewares and then add some specific middlewares just to certain pages. And then, okay, the middleware, it can be executed before, but you can also create a wrap middleware, and this enables other types of patterns, useful patterns, like in this case, we want to catch and handle some common errors that you can encounter during your Next.js application. So we define a catches, so we say, okay, this middleware catches all of these errors. And it is also type safe. When we're going to use it, if we throw that with return, we are in effect, if we return that error, it won't trigger the type system. What returns? So it is a middleware. You can use it, for example, in a server action, and that is going to be a type that is going to be added to the possible returns of that server action. The failure that we saw earlier, and then we define it. So instead of just returning the providing value, we have this next value out of the middleware, and that is the next effect that will be executed in the chain of the middlewares. And so we can, for example, execute some logic before and after wrapping effectively our effect. And we are almost at the end of the various adding of this library. We have, you saw briefly the schema. It is very powerful, the effect schema. And as you need to parse, you can't trust the user, so you need to parse every input that reaches your app. There are also these useful utils, like the code search params unknown, the code params unknown, that accepts a schema, and the props, it is very similar to effect schema if you use it, but it is also executing the promises because we receive the params, the search params as promises. And yeah, when using effect in general, not with the library, of course, you are also getting a lot of telemetry just for free, and it also plays well with the automatic Next.js telemetry. So you get like just for example, like adding hotel, the hotel OpenTelemetry implementation from Next, and effect, and it automatically builds up these beautiful charts. And we just mentioned earlier, but it is also a very effective pattern. You can hook your effect servers in Next and get all the benefits in the client using the effect HTTP API client. So we started with use effect, but the should you. So my take is yes, you should actually. And I think that, okay, we talked about tools and what makes a great tool and when you need to decide to use it or not. Well, for me, there are 4 things. The first is obviously it has to be used to have a great ecosystem and community around it. It has to solve a real problem, and it is solving a lot of problems for us. It should not add more problems than when it solves, and no, that's not the case. And finally, if there is a problem, there must be a team that cares and that helps you overcome those. And yeah, that's absolutely the case. So yes, you should use Effect, try it, commit to it. It takes a while, but it is worth it. So thank you. And this is, there are some resources you can look at. Thank you.